Welcome back to the Behind the Glass show. Today we are joined once again with Daniel West, and he's coming in for, this is going to be episode 33 of the
33.
BTG Show. He came in for part 1. He's got an incredible life story, and now we're going to get into part 2 and potentially part 3 with Daniel. And so getting into this episode, when we ended that episode, I believe we ended on the loss of your mom and your dad.
Yep.
So before we get into the rest of that story, or before we continue on with it, some of the things you wanted to talk about a little bit that we maybe didn't cover so much in the last episode was just a little bit of the alcoholism that you were dealing with.
There was a time in my life, right after I graduated high school, I had a girlfriend, and she had a lake cabin. And this was July 3rd. Big party, before the 4th of July. And she took my car, and she parked it against the sign that said, "Welcome to our cabin." And she parked her dad's pickup right behind it. So I couldn't get out because I was in town. And I got served in the bar. So I bought beer for all my friends and proceeded to get just blackout drunk. Ended up getting a ride to her cabin, and up where her bedroom window was, she was watching my car to see if I came home. And right when I pulled in, she went to the bathroom. And I got in my car, and I pulled it out without hitting a thing. I don't know how long it took. I don't know how long she was in the bathroom, but by the time she came back to the window, I was gone. And I made it about 4 miles down the road, and you could follow my tracks. 2 tires in the ditch, 2 tires on the road. And I came to a T in the road, and I was probably going 40, 45, and overcorrected, rolled my car through a barbed wire fence and into the slough, and it landed upside down. And when I woke up, there was mud everywhere, water everywhere, fence posts through the roof of the car, and my legs had no seatbelt. I was wrapped around in the barbed wire fence. So I got untangled, and I started walking to a light, and that light wasn't getting any closer. And I think this was probably 2, 3 in the morning. So I walked back to my car, crawled back inside, and passed out for a couple of hours because I had no idea where I was. No idea. And then I got out again and walked another direction, found a farmer's yard, knocked on the door, and yeah, then I knew where I was. But the lady called the cops, and I ended up getting charged with the DUI. Went to jail, and the breathalyzer, I blew like a .16. But when I went to the jail, I blew in their big machine, and I blew zeros. Don't ask me how that happened. But I got a lawyer, and the lawyer said that the machine wasn't calibrated properly. So I got out of the DUI.
You are kidding.
Yeah. No.
So you had a breathalyzer before they took you in?
Yep.
So the
right
one
when
that
the
they
cops showed up.
That's the one that they said was not calibrated?
No, that's the one
argued?
that I blew a .16 on, and then I went to the jail and blew zeros on their big machine.
Right.
Yeah.
So because you blew a .16 with the cop,
Yep.
your lawyer argued that one wasn't calibrated right.
That the one at the jail wasn't, because I blew zeros on that one.
Why would he argue that one?
I'm not sure. It was one of them.
Okay.
Either way, I got out of it.
Oh, wow.
I should have never got out of it.
That's lucky as hell, man.
It was. But that DUI was still on my record. So I was working for a farmer at the time, and he was driving grain truck, and I backed into his pickup. Yeah. And he was a strict by the book kind of guy, so he called the sheriff to report the damage, and the sheriff told me I had a suspended license because of that DUI. So then I got in trouble for driving with a suspended license for a DUI that I never got charged with.
So then, yeah, what happens now with this farmer? Was that kind of, did he let you go from that or what?
No, I still continued to work for him. I ended up getting a work permit until I got everything with the DUI figured out, and then eventually it all got squashed and got my license back, and
nice.
Good to go.
How old were you at this point? You know?
18.
Okay, so this is like before the military and everything else. So I've wondered that. I was always told if you go and sign up for any branch of the military, you can't have done drugs. They'll ask you stuff like this. Have you ever gotten DUI? And then that will disqualify you, right? Yours wasn't official.
Yep.
So that's
and it was a couple years from the time that happened to the time I joined the military. So
right.
By then it was off my record and
okay,
nothing to worry about. And they even looked at my minors I got when I was in high school, and it was still fine.
They ever put you through like a psyche eval or anything like that in the military?
Before?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No.
I've heard some guys had to go through that, and they'll ask you some of the dumbest questions. Apparently, it's to figure out.
I mean, they might have. I don't know. That was a long time ago. Yeah. 21 years ago when I joined the military. So they could have done something.
Yeah. So I guess where we kind of left off was off of the back of you had gotten the Red Cross message.
Yep.
Came home, your mom died. Was it a month later your dad passed as well?
No, it was like 2.5 weeks later when my unit got hit, and then we lost those two guys in Afghanistan.
That's right.
And then it was 2.5 months after that my dad passed away.
Wow. Anything important or any details about your unit getting hit that we did not discuss?
No, I don't think so, because I wasn't there. So the only stories, that I get are from guys that heard it. I never really talked to anybody that, was there that night.
How many guys did they lose over there?
We lost two.
Two of them.
2 got killed and 1 was injured.
And then was it after you had come back from all of this that there was that other kid, the younger kid that was part of your guys' unit, that he killed himself?
Yep. That was that was 6 months after my dad died. I think 5-6 months.
Right.
Yep.
Oh man, that's a lifetime of loss in a short period of time for the majority of us, That's insane to me.
And that's what a lot of the feedback on the last one was like, wow, that's the amount of loss, is just, it's mind-boggling. And that's not, to include like my grandparents, they passed away when I was younger. Like, I didn't know my dad's parents because they died before I was ever born. And my grandma on my mom's side, she died before I was born. So I had my grandpa, and, our relationship wasn't really like a grandpa-grandkid relationship. We'd go to his house and he'd turn the TV on for us, and then he'd sit in his recliner and chew his snuff. Or just leaf tobacco, whatever he had. And that's about it, the extent of that.
Was he the one that was in the military as well?
He was.
What did he do?
He was in the Army back in the day. I don't know what his job was.
No.
Yep.
Yeah, that's I don't really know I'm fortunate to know my grandparents on my mom's side, but my dad lost his parents. We were still all very young, and I think he lost both of them to cancer.
Oh.
And I think Corey mentioned something about that in the last episode about how you would deal with, losing your parents. Dad never really said too much about it.
Mm-hmm.
But he had to go to both of their funerals, and thinking about it in my head now, imagining if both of my parents were gone, kind of like your story. I can't even. I see it now. The older I get, just watching like celebrities that I grew up with, and now I see them on TV, and I'm like, oh my god,
They're old.
they're old. Arnold Schwarzenegger, for one.
He's
I
old.
just recently watched him, and he's walking like an old man. He's he's got a cane and all this, and I'm just thinking, wow, this really does all hit us. Some people just go early, some people go young. In your situation, with your brother or your cousin, and some of us, it's just time just gets to everybody, and it's just so it's you think being an adult when you're younger, it's just this beautiful thing. I get to do whatever the hell I want, right?
Yep.
You realize that time is just your enemy. It's just working against you. And every year, everybody that you know, everybody that you love, you yourself, you're all just getting closer to death. And if you focus on it, I know it's so depressing to hear someone say
when you
that.
say it like that,
Right,
it is.
right. And that's the thing that I try not to focus on that. And that's why your story is powerful to hear, because it does remind us that we need to love people while they're here, while they're capable of like looking at you. And like some people go through Alzheimer's. I've got a buddy, he talked about his mom going through that and just didn't even recognize him, when he walked through the door. It was just so hard, man.
Life is too short to not.
So short.
Yeah. Don't take it for granted at all.
Man, no. Yeah, hopefully that's something everybody learns from listening to your episodes is you just have to find a way to appreciate people that you have in your life.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they'll piss you off. Sometimes they'll, whatever else. Forgive
all
people.
the things.
Yeah, they'll do everything. Learn to forgive people. Move on. Try to love them if you can. So yeah, let's get into the rest of your story here. So I believe the last portion was when your dad had passed away, right? That would have been the last loss that you dealt with.
Yep.
You're still back home from your deployment.
Yeah, I was back home and he passed away. And that wasn't that wasn't very fun. That after my mom died, after my dad died, that's hit the bottle pretty hard. And it's like from when she died to a few months after my dad died, I never stopped drinking. And there was drinking, and then there was popping painkillers on top of everything just to numb myself, because I didn't want to feel those emotions. I didn't want to handle that loss. I didn't I don't know. I didn't like myself. I definitely didn't like God at the time, because I could never see why he would put us through all that loss and expect us to come out, the other side full of forgiveness and happiness. That was never a thing. I just wanted to bury all those emotions and keep them down and just drink myself away. And it was, looking back, I'm an addict and an alcoholic, and I'm selfish and self-centered. So like my brother and my sister, they were going through, the same loss that I went through, and it never, it hit them hard, but I don't remember my brother being as bad into the bottle as I was, and he was never into painkillers or anything. I don't know, it's that addictive mindset, and I just needed it to bury everything.
None of your other family members dealt with addiction, you don't think?
No. Well, I mean, they like drinking, but I don't think it was ever to the extent that I took it. You know, most of them can stop after one or two and be just fine.
Right.
But if I get one or two in, then I need 10 or 12. And then after a couple days of that, then I got to find something else. So then I'll find painkillers and start mixing booze and painkillers or whatever I could find.
So you mentioned that you didn't like yourself, or you're mad at yourself.
Well, I was more mad at God.
Right.
Yeah.
And so at this point, you had not found any kind of faith.
No.
You know God exists. You probably were raised, like you mentioned, you were raised in church.
Yep.
Stuff like that. So you had a little bit of an understanding of God, and you were kind of directing your anger towards him in these situations, right? Because he's allowing this to happen, right? We think of God, we think all-knowing, all-powerful. You're in control of this universe that we live in.
Yeah, don't let anything bad happen to me.
Yeah.
And here I am getting hit. Boom, 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 boom. And it just, I couldn't see why. You know, I couldn't see how he would let that happen. Especially with so many in succession, you know. Like, come on, you got to give me a break. And it never, I mean, it happened, but there's loss from the time my dad died, and every year until now, there's been a loss. Or every couple years, there's been a loss. So it never ends.
So you are mad at God at this point. You're drinking your own drugs. Are you actually doing any talking? Like, are you praying or anything? Or are you just pissed?
No, I prayed, you know, when my mom was in the hospital. And I prayed after my unit got hit. I prayed for their families and everyone that was there. I prayed for my dad, and after he died, I just kind of stopped praying. Prayed that all this anger and hatred would go away, and it never left. So then I kind of stopped praying, stopped taking anything to God, and just did my own thing.
When you're with your family now, do you feel like because of all the loss that you've gone through, you have the ability to appreciate them a lot more than maybe other people do, just because you know how quickly things like that can end?
Absolutely.
I would imagine.
Yeah.
That
it's not just family, it's friends and, loved ones and everyone.
Yeah.
Appreciate time with anybody while it's here, because it might not be here tomorrow.
That's true, man. I appreciate this time that we get to have today with you, man. This is huge for me. Yeah, I think you're a valuable person in my life.
Well,
I'm truly grateful that you're still here. So you're drinking. What drugs are you getting into? Different drugs now after your dad passes?
Not right away. So my dad, he died in 2013, and I went to be a boiler maker. So I worked in power plants and process plants, and I ran across drugs there. There were guys on meth and stuff, because you work nights, you work days, you work whatever, and I never got into it. I didn't want to do anything like that. I had a sister-in-law in Las Vegas, and she was into meth and heroin and all of the things, and I watched it, ruin her life, and I never wanted any part of that. Watch her kids get taken away, and I was like, well, I'm not that bad of an addict. I just do pills and I drink, but I'm not, on heroin or meth. And I drank a lot when I was a Boilermaker. All my coworkers, we drank, and there would be days where I'd have a cooler of beer in the car and crack one open, or 2 or 5 on the way home, and I did that for a while, and one of my best friends now, he moved in next door by my house, and we got along so well, and we drank all the time together, and he had kids, and my wife at the time and we couldn't have kids, so we're always over there babysitting, and him and his wife are great people, and Justin and Chas, this is for you. Here's your shout out. But we were just great friends, and he never knew anything of what was going on. I mean, he knew about the loss and stuff and all the things, but not as far as the what the painkiller addiction was like. Yeah, because it was nasty.
So you mentioned too that you're married at this point. Is this
I'm still married to the first wife.
This is the first one still.
Yep.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, still married, still not I was never the husband I should have been. I was never anything. It was centered around painkillers and coming down and trying to. I spent most of my time and money, trying to get her even. Because if she came down, she, like any drug addict, when they come off of anything, it was not a good time. It was fights and name calling and all the things. And so I would try to get her just enough to keep her even for a few days, But eventually I just resented her so much and the relationship that we had, that I would, I cheated on her constantly, and she never had an idea. Just, I would hide it and lie about it, and, but I didn't like myself at the time. I was so disgusted with the way that I was being, with the painkillers and how far my alcoholism has gone, and cheating on her. Like, I'm supposed to love this woman and do all these things, and it wasn't like that. It was chaos.
I've heard that cheating for men is different than cheating for women.
Well, I'm a man, so I could.
Right. So
I don't know.
As you're going through this, do you feel like, I mean, I have an idea because I'm a man too, right? Do you feel like you go out, you do your thing with some other woman, and you come home? Do you feel like you're able to just put the other woman out of your head? Now I'm back home. I still love my wife. Or do you feel like you were getting emotional connections with these other women, and now it's affecting the way you love and interact with your wife at home?
I think part of it was the emotional side of it, because I was getting from them what I wasn't getting from her.
Mm.
Yeah. And they weren't drug addicts, or, they weren't coming down. So they were nice to me, and they cared, and kind of cared, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, I don't know. It was probably definitely the emotional side. Yeah.
Were you talking to them were you getting into deep conversations with any of these women about your life? Or is it just more of a physical, and I'm just happy to be here with someone who
just
wants to be
physical
with me?
And yeah. No, I would never divulge any kind of personal information, like where I worked or being in the military, no, that's not no.
So who initiated the divorce between you and your wife? Or is that jumping too far ahead
That's
in this
too
story?
far ahead.
That's way too far.
You're a few years
old man.
off. Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
Let's continue on.
So up until middle of 2014, just odd jobs, drinking and lots of painkillers. And, on days that I wouldn't work, or say if I didn't have a job for like a month, then stealing things became a thing, because I had to afford drugs that, you need the money to be able to do that. And what do you do if you're unemployed and you don't have money? Then you steal things, and then you pawn things.
Wow.
So I stole a lot of things, and I would go to the pawn shop and I'd, sell for $50, $100, or I would pawn my own stuff.
How much is so you're getting pills from someone.
Yep.
Is it usually the same person?
For the most part.
What's one pill cost?
Back then, so like 10 milligram hydrocodones would be anywhere from $10 to $15 a pill.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What is that cheaper or more expensive than
That's
you could get?
super expensive.
Wow.
It's outrageously expensive.
And you had no way to go and get any kind of prescription for this because you're not dealing with injuries or anything.
Well, there were ways that I would go to the doctor and get prescriptions, but they were never, like long term. They would be like, here's 10 or 15 to get, sprain my ankle or something stupid, and then I go and get them. But we'd have those gone in a couple hours.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Did you ever get into smoking weed?
No.
No?
I smoked weed a little bit in high school, and it never did the thing for me.
Really?
Yeah.
I tried it a couple of times too back in my early 20s, late teens, and I never got that. I had the feeling once. I did it with my buddy, and we were standing outside his garage. We hit it a couple of times, and it was raining, and I remember just staring up at the rain because it was so weird, it was just falling slowly, and it's just the coolest thing ever. But after that, it just burned my throat and made me choke, and I just didn't. I never got into it.
Yeah, my wife at the time, she every time she would smoke weed, she would get super paranoid. Like the blinds would be closed and the doors would be locked, and she'd be checking the doors, and she'd be peeking out the blinds thinking she heard somebody, and that was not a good time. That was, not good.
So I want to talk about this stealing.
Yeah.
How are you stealing, and what are you stealing?
It would have been pretty much anything I could get my hands on. I don't know what I can say on here and can't, as far as, there's certain things that I've done that I don't want to get in trouble for now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But most of it was like tools, especially from my father-in-law. Like I would take a saw and then I'd go and pawn it, or a set of wrenches and go and pawn it, and then I'd go get it back eventually. I don't want to lose it. But I didn't tell him that I was going to pawn it.
Wow.
So then I would take it, pawn it, get the drugs for it, and then whenever I made some money, I'd go and get it out of the pawn shop and go put it back before anybody knew it was gone.
That sounds so counterproductive.
It was, but when you're unemployed and you're not working and you need to get that fixed, then you're going to do anything you can to get that fix.
Is anybody ever questioning you, like your father-in-law? Like, where's my?
No.
No, you had no suspicion. So you're a good thief. You're a good criminal.
I was. I don't like to admit that because it's not like I grew up learning how to steal or, I don't know if it was the drugs or what, but I was good at it.
Did you feel guilt while you were doing it?
Absolutely. And so I had, like my own deer rifle and I pawned that, and I had a couple different guns that I had pawned and stuff like that. And the worst one, probably, this was right before I started meth. I pawned my parents' wedding rings.
Oh my God.
After they died.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Did you ever get those back?
I did not.
Wow.
Because I ended up going to jail. I would love to get them back. That one, that broke my heart. Like at the time, in the back of my head, I was like, I'm going to get this back. And they were matching rings, everything. And yeah, pawned it, went and got the fix. And yeah, ended up going to jail. Ruined my life and never saw him again.
Damn.
Yeah, I know that's something that, I always want to keep a hold of and have for my kids and stuff to pass down. And yeah, now I lost them.
So here's a question, I guess, pertaining to the way you introduce yourself on TikTok again, right? So why don't you throw thief in there?
Because
you're technically a recovering thief still, right?
I mean, if you look at it like that, yeah, but none of that started without, the drugs and the alcohol.
That makes sense.
If I would have never gotten into those things, then I would have never stolen a car before. I would have never stolen things and pawned them. I would have never pawned my parents' wedding rings. I would have never done any of that because I would have had no need.
Throughout all of this, the stealing and the drinking and the pills, were you kind of coping by doing all of this? Do you feel like you're doing okay? Do you feel like in your addict head, in your mind, right? Do you feel like this is helping you? Or are you wallowing in despair even during all of this?
Definitely wallowing in despair.
Wow.
I mean, there were probably a few points where I thought that I had pretty good grasp on things. But for the most part, it was the more I stole, the more dumb stuff I did, the more my view of myself went in the gutter. Like the more I cheated on my wife, the more I stole, the more fights I got into, the more everything. It knocked me down a peg at a time. And there were times where I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. 'Cause I had no idea who I was looking at. And I definitely did not like that person I was looking at in the mirror.
See, that's what's crazy to me. That's the part, because I guess I haven't dealt with it. That's the part that always gets me. It's that people will do all of these things because of problems that they're having in their life. And, you bring these in as sort of a temporary fix to the pain. Mm-hmm. You want to dull it. You don't want to think about it. But you'll ask them, just like you're saying, and they're like, no, I was still completely miserable. I still hated myself. So this isn't even all the shit that you're doing, right? It's still not even fixing the issue that you're trying to fix at all. If anything, it's making it worse.
Absolutely.
That's insane.
It is insane. That's the definition of insanity.
It is
doing the
insanity.
Same thing over and over and expecting different results.
That's right.
But the stealing and all that stuff, it just fueled the addiction, because then I could afford the drugs and whatever, so I could numb myself and not have to like myself.
Right. So you truly were an addict.
Oh, yeah.
So did you ever come into a situation where you couldn't get the pills, you couldn't get the drugs, and you find yourself dealing with reality?
Yeah, there were a lot of times like that. Because, person A who has these pills, they ran out. Person B who only has one or two, and they're going to save them for themselves. Person C have to drive all the way to South Dakota to see them. So, no, there were lots of times that, reality would hit, and that was hard. That first initial couple days of coming down, you're just miserable and sweaty and achy, and painkillers make you constipated, so you're dealing with that, and it's insane, because a few days after that you're thinking, why am I even doing this? What is the point? But then you get a phone call that, hey, I've got more pills, and that addict mind is like, okay, I'll be there in 5.
Wow. What would you say is the longest period you went in the point of your addiction where you couldn't get a hold of anything to fix it?
Probably not more than a week. Because the more people you meet, you meet this guy over here, and he's got 2 or 3 buddies with him, or his cousin, and then you find the cousin on Facebook, and you say, hey, can you get this? And it's just a never-ending cycle of meeting people that, are in that game, and by the time you're done, you've got 300 different messages on Facebook Messenger. Everybody's got something or knows somebody, and
my God,
yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, it's never something I hope I have to experience.
I really hope not.
Like I said, though, in the last podcast, I can easily see how you would fall into something like this, going through the things that you had gone through. It's not that hard of a jump, for anybody watching, I'm sure, to imagine that you would want to dull the pain.
Yeah.
You'd want to find some way to get outside of your head and just not feel this shit anymore. I'm going to do something that numbs it. We all, whether or not we all want to admit it or not, those of us who still drink, generally you do that. We might not know it at the time, but you're trying to numb yourself out. You're trying to have some fun, relax a little. You're using a drug to do that,
De-stress and do all the things.
100%. So,
and that's ridiculous because,
I
was doing all this to numb my feelings and with the drugs and the alcohol. But when I would get more drugs and more alcohol in my system, then I would just hate myself.
Right.
So what I was originally trying to numb turned into hatred for myself. And it's just a never-ending cycle when you're in that addiction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to get into your first arrest. We're going to talk about Daniel's first arrest.
My first one?
Oh, boy.
There's been a few. My first one, I think it was in 2014. No, 2013. After my dad passed away. I wasn't a Boilermaker yet, but my cousin, my wife, and me, we were all at the bar in Center, North Dakota. And Center has power plants over there, and got drunk when we walked back to my cousin's place, and me and the wife were outside yelling at each other, getting into it, and two Boilermakers walked by, and they didn't like what they were hearing, so then we got into a fight. And eventually, I got down, and I got kicked in the face with steel toes. So I got my eye socket broken.
Ooh.
And cops got called, and we all went to jail. Me and the two Boilermakers got a disorderly conduct, and showed up for court the next day. I didn't remember what happened. My face is the size of a watermelon. It's just huge. And one of the guys walks out, and he's got a pretty good shiner, so I must have got him. And yeah, I got a disorderly conduct and I think unsupervised probation. So, and it was deferred. So if I didn't get in trouble for a year, then it got off my record. So that was the first time I got put in handcuffs and spent the night in jail.
Okay. They didn't lock,
because of drinking.
Yeah. They didn't lock all three of you up in the same.
They didn't.
Okay.
No, and they took me to the hospital in Hazen so I could get my face checked out and x-rays done, and they never gave me the pictures of the x-ray or anything. I did a follow-up in Bismarck, and there was not much they could do. It was cracked in one or two places, but it wasn't broken, completely through, so it just healed on its own.
So you're done with the Boilermaker thing.
That was before.
That was before.
Before I became
I don't know
a
if you want
Boilermaker.
to. Did you get arrested again?
No, it's a few years from that point.
So is that while you're still at the boiling making thing, or?
No, I got I got arrested in 2013 for that disorderly conduct, and then the next time I get arrested isn't until 2016. Yep. So up until that point, I'm still a Boilermaker for all of 2014, part of 2013, 2014. And then I quit doing that. I get a job on a drilling rig. Made good money, real good money, and there was meth out there. And never got into it, never did any of those things.
I've heard meth was like a choice drug for guys in the oil field.
It is, because you stay awake and you can get so much done. And, I don't know. I spent a lot of time working while I was high on meth, and not at this point, but later on. And, I can't say that it was very safe at all, because you could stay up and, work longer hours, work longer days, and it just, the toll it takes on your mind and your body is not worth it. And that's why people do it, because they can work a few extra hours. They can, get 3 days worth of work done in a day and a half. And yeah.
Dude, the oil field is no joke. It's, people see documentaries of it and everything else, but I spent maybe 12 years working in the oil field, out by Dickinson and Watford area. It, some of the most, it was hard years of my life. And
that's for sure.
What was your experience with the oil field work, as far as, I know you probably drank, maybe still on pills at this point.
Oh yeah, definitely on pills. When I was on the drilling rig, we would get off our shift and then we'd go to the bar, have a couple drinks, and go back, eat, and we slept in a man camp on location. So it yeah, drinking. And when I would come home for my 2 weeks, I could afford pills then.
Oh, yeah.
So then I would buy enough, that I would be able to take some with me, and I could spread them out over the course of a couple days, so I could wean myself off. I wasn't getting, sick up there or coming down heavily, and yeah, I did that, and I enjoyed it. Tripping pipe, in and out of a hole, that was one of the best things to do, because you're busy nonstop, and you're pulling out, 10, 15,000 feet of pipe, and then tripping it right back in. So
were you guys working
fun.
with the chains?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those videos.
Tongs and throwing slips and doing all the things.
That's so dangerous.
It was super dangerous.
Did they require you guys to wear FRs?
Yep.
Back then, yeah.
Yep. FR, steel toes, hard hat.
Would you say that's one of those jobs that women should not be involved in?
On a drilling, yes.
For the people out there who always talk
That's
about
not to be, sexist or anything like that. It's just, I don't know any women that would want to do that job, because it's dirty and it's gross, and the guys in the oil field are not.
No, dude.
They're not. It's not like your brother or your cousin. It's like you don't know what Johnny Two Toes did in Alabama when he was there.
No shit.
And it could be running from the lie, could be doing anything. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And aren't they drug testing you guys out there? I know when I was in the oil field, we'd get randoms all the time, right?
Yep.
So are they drug testing you guys?
Oh yeah.
What do you do? Did you carry around fake
pee?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Sure did.
That's a ballsy move. I've considered, I won't say when, but I've considered over the course of my life. I was like, I'm gonna have some time off. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna party, get some drugs, try some stuff, and through the advice of some people I know, once again, I won't say who, but they were like, I can get you fake piss, just keep it on you. I was always way too terrible. Just back to me with the pills and booze thing. I'm just scared, man.
Oh, yeah.
I know I'll screw up. So it's like, don't you have to carry it on you all day?
Yeah. And I even did that when I was a Boilermaker. Like, at the start of a new job, we would get drug tested and hand warmers and... down in your boxers, right by your groin where it's warm, and it's got to be body temperature or you're
how do you
fail.
How do you not blow that thing up while you're working? Isn't it in a bag?
Oh, a little plastic bottle.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes way more. I always thought it was in like one of those saline bags or something.
No.
I'm thinking, because people have told me, they're like, yeah, it's just in a little bag. And there's even ones where they have a self-warmer on them. So once you pull the drug test, you can just pop this little self-warmer on it and it heats it up and all this.
Oh, yeah.
It just always seemed like too much work for me.
I never worked. I wasn't really worried about randoms. That was more for like a pre-employment, Like when we went to South Dakota, before we could even do anything there, we had to take a drug test. And if you failed the drug test, they'd send you home. So then I made sure to have it on me and pass the drug test. And
so you used it too?
Oh, yeah. Well, there were a lot of times where you'd take some pills and then you're not sure how long they'd be in your system. So I would rather be safe than sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. So how long total did you spend in the oil field?
Well, I spent that year, and then I spent 4 more years after that. 5 more years.
Still on a rig?
No. That's later on in the story. But okay. I did the drilling rig, and then I started driving truck for a company, and then I moved on a pipeline crew and was a foreman on the pipeline crew. then went to another construction company during COVID and ran equipment, and then I started as an equipment operator, truck driver at another place, and eventually became a roustabout supervisor the day before my last relapse. Burn that down. But also, 2015, my wife's sister, I think she got custody of her youngest son back, and she couldn't care for him, so he came to live with us. She was in Las Vegas, so we had him beginning of 2015. So we, raised him and did all the things, and that was kind of cool. It was like my first experience being a dad, because we still couldn't have kids at that point, and it was pretty cool.
How old was he?
3.
Oh, wow.
He was 3 when we got him, and he came from, his mom used heroin and meth and all the things, and she did a stint in prison, and his dad, I don't think his dad was in the picture. And yeah.
So where was he at before you guys got custody of him?
In Las Vegas.
With
his mom.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yep. So he was there. His older brother lived with his dad's grandparents, or his grandparents on his dad's side. They had different dads, and they wouldn't watch Aiden, or couldn't take him in. So we went and got him, brought him up, and raised him. And he was a pretty good kid. But the middle of 2015 was probably the first time I tried meth. Did not like it. Hated it. I snorted it. It felt like I got kicked in the face by a horse. Like, it was just this intense amount of pain and suffering, and it sucked. And like, I had snorted cocaine before and painkillers and stuff, and nothing hit like that. And it was depressing and disappointing, because I had let my addiction get to that point where I was looking for harder things, more. I mean, I was working, it was a while since I had cheated on my wife. Things were okay there, and I hated it. And we had Aiden there, and he just got out of a crappy situation, and here we are, still doing pills, still trying meth for the first time. I don't know what we were thinking, ever thinking that we could do good for that kid, probably because we're selfish and self-centered, and thinking that we can know what's best for him, give him a better life than he had in Las Vegas. And this is one of the things that I don't know if I should say on here or not, but I didn't like meth at that point. And it was so demoralizing that I let myself get to that point, that I still had a gun at the time. And I went out to a spot in Mandan to think about life and all the things, and I was depressed, and I'd never thought about suicide before, and the thought wasn't even in my head, but I drove out there and I put the gun to my head and I pulled the trigger, and it misfired.
Wow.
So that was eye-opening, for a little while. Well, first I thought I was a failure, because I couldn't even do that. It's like, what am I going to do with my life now? And yeah, that sucked to go through that.
And this is your first experience with meth brought you to this point?
Yeah, it was like a culmination of everything, all the loss that I experienced, and the pills and alcohol and everything just got to a point where it was like, this is never going to end. I didn't know anything about treatment at that time. I didn't know, where to go for help. I didn't talk to my family or my friends about what was going on, mentally or on the addiction side of things. I play it off as everything was cool, when I'd be talking to like my buddy Justin or someone, and I'd never let him see that side of me. And then I put that gun in my head and pulled the trigger, and it just clicked. I used to carry that bullet around with me for a long time, but I lost it in my addiction. But yeah, so then that made me sober up for a little while. I didn't drink, stopped doing pills, and I worked for a little while longer before we got laid off. Because that was in 2015 when like oil crashed and we weren't producing as many barrels as we should, and got laid off. So moved moved all my stuff from up by Williston back home and just focused on finding another job. And turns out on one of my hitches up there, my wife went to go get some painkillers from one of the guys that we knew, and he didn't have any, and he gave her a bag of meth. And yeah, I showed up after I moved all my stuff back, and like the house was clean, everything was spotless, and she's bouncing around and all. You could tell something's up. Like, this is not the way she acted. I was like, what did you do? And this was a couple months after I put the gun in my head, and she's like, I tried this stuff that he gave me. And that broke my heart, because I'd tried it without telling her, and I hated that, and it made me almost end everything. But seeing her like that, I was like, I wonder if it's that bad. As bad as I thought it was. And then eventually, a few months later, we got back into the pills and then tried some meth again.
That point in your life when you went with that gun, were you high at the time you made that decision?
No.
Or were you sober? Really?
Sober. Well, there could have been some residual drugs in my system, but I wasn't high. It was after I started coming down off of it, and I was like, this is not the life I want anymore. I don't want to have to find pills. I don't want to have to find meth, or I want to be done drinking. And I probably could have reached out, to the VA or to somebody and, started a conversation about treatment, but That wasn't in my playbook. I wanted everything in my head to stop. I wanted silence. You know, because it's chaos. It's chaos in my head. It was chaos in my head before I found God and before I had, you know, what I have now. It was every day was thinking about loss and, you know, even rejection and all of these things. And just, I wanted it all to stop.
Were you, after it goes click and nothing happens, were you disappointed? Were you happy? Were you relieved a little?
It was, you know, it's like a mixture of things. I was a little bit disappointed, I guess, because I had to listen to everything in my head still. But then there was a part of me that was relieved because, I mean, thinking back on it, I didn't really want to do that to my brother and, you know, the rest of my family, considering that they've been through all the loss that I went through. And that was super selfish of me. But at the time, you know, I was just worried about myself. And that's why I got into the alcohol and the pills and the drugs that I eventually got into, because I'm selfish. I just wanted to care about me and how I was feeling. And yeah.
That's probably one of the best descriptions I've heard someone give for why they were going to go do something like that is, I just wanted the noise in my head to stop. You know, it's true. You know, I haven't dealt with a lot of any of the things that you've dealt with, but there is a certain amount of noise that can just happen in your mind constantly. You can get inside your own head. Things that have happened to you can just constantly replay in your mind over and over and over again. And I understand just wanting it all to stop. Just, I don't want to hear this anymore. I don't want to feel like this anymore. It almost sounds peaceful. You know, if you take away the fact about what you're about to do to make it stop, you know, it sounds great to just, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Yep.
Somebody take it away from me. That's sad to hear that you got to that point, though.
That's the thing. It's just, you know, sitting there with your eyes closed, just hoping it's going to work. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh.
Would you say that was God's intervention that did not go off?
I believe so.
I would say so.
Part of me thought that, you know, okay, this didn't happen, so how are we going to get through life now? And I thought that, you know, back then for a second, I thought that maybe it would be like it is now, where I'd get clean and be sober and have a life worth having. And that was not the case at all. I had to go through hell to get to where I'm at now. But I think it's because of that intervention that I had to endure the things that I've, you know, gone through, and that is what brought me here to share all this, the podcast.
Wow. Did you tell anybody?
No. Not for a long time. And I still haven't told many people. It's not, I don't know, not something worth bragging about.
Well, no. So does your family know about this?
Oh, now they do.
Yeah. Wow.
Once they watch this.
Wow.
Most of them.
Yeah.
No.
So then you come home and you find your wife, and she is now on meth.
Yeah, but this was not right after that happened. This was a couple months after that happened.
Okay.
So I'd not done any up until that point, and she was high, and then I was like, maybe it's not that bad. And then a little while went on, and I don't know, a couple weeks, a month, and then we got some more, and yeah, we said Aiden living with us. That was our nephew, and we'd go upstairs in the attic and smoke it, and it was just so stupid, so dumb.
So you snorted meth the first time you did.
Yeah.
And then now you're smoking it.
Yep.
Is that the proper way to do meth?
I don't know what the proper way is. There's so many different ways to do it that you can smoke it, you can snort it, you can inject it, you can eat it.
So the second time you did it, was it a different experience than that first painful, horse kicking you in the
Smoking
head?
it is not anything like, you don't feel that at all. It just hits you, and then I don't know how to describe it. I've been asked before, and it's like you're just, I don't know. You've got this unimaginable amount of energy. Like, take the strongest energy drink you've ever had, times it by 100.
Wow.
You're just amped up, and you're hyped, and you're ready to go, and you feel untouchable, and yeah.
Is it the kind of energy that you feel your heart beating fast?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
And it just keeps you awake
It does.
for days?
Could be days, depending on, and that's the problem with finding drugs in North Dakota, because everything comes from wherever, and it gets stepped on, 10, 20 times before it hits here. So the amount of meth you get in a little bag could be, hardly anything. And then you got baby laxative or whatever it's cut with. But some days you can get some really good stuff. And the longest I stayed awake was 21 days. Not straight through, there would be cat naps and stuff, 10, 15-minute cat naps, but without a night's sleep, 21 days.
21 days.
And I'd nod off a little bit and wake up, but without a solid more than an hour of sleep, 21 days.
What happens after the 21 days?
Then I crashed really hard.
That's gotta be hard.
It was 2 days of sleep.
Is it also like a hangover?
No, not necessarily. It was I knew it. I was a junkie at that point, so I was injecting it, and I would just do as much as I possibly could to stay awake.
And are you still working?
Not at that point.
Okay.
No, I wasn't. So before we get to that point, what happened? Where were we at? Oh, we started smoking meth in the attic, and that took over everything. It's so addictive that my buddy and our dealer and his girlfriend would come over once a day, and we'd be up there smoking. And it just it's so addictive that that's all you think about. That's what you want your life to revolve around. And it was not long before everything started going downhill. because it was a lot like with the pills, but with meth, you could, I figured out that you could go to so-and-so and you could get a little bit, and then you could go over here to this person and sell it for double the price that you paid for it. So it was probably a month after I started smoking it that I was like, we got to make some money doing this.
Damn.
To pay for our habit. And when the meth started, like really started, then the pills, they died off because they weren't fun to do with meth. And really the drinking died off too, because it just killed the high.
Sure.
But if I couldn't find any meth, then I would find some booze and some pills. But yeah, it wasn't long before I was selling it and knowing people that had, more than I did. So then you get stuff fronted to you, and then you go out and you sell it and go back with the money, and then, they'll probably hook you up with a little bit extra for selling it. And the price was outrageous then. So it was chaos.
At any point during this, do you feel any fear about what you're doing? Or is this just life? You're not scared of getting caught. You're not scared of hurting your body, maybe dying off some of this stuff.
No.
And
I'd just gotten out of the military, and I had a pretty good record. I never got in trouble. I had a car and registration and insurance and all the things. So I never had to worry about, if the cops were watching me or is my license plate light out.
Jeez.
I never had to worry about any of that. But, after I became a junkie, then it hits you differently. And then you get a little more paranoid, and then you kind of have your head on a swivel more, like who's doing what, and you're watching people. Well, when I first started smoking it and snorting it, I didn't really care. There was no fear, no. Never thought I was going to get caught. Never did get caught for drugs.
What town are you living in at this point?
Mandan.
Okay. It's pretty easy to probably hide in that area of town.
Oh, yeah.
This kind of a thing.
Yeah, it was not hard to get away with it.
You're kind of just sticking to you and your wife doing it. You're not necessarily going to like trap houses and
not at this point.
Okay.
No, my adventure with meth was not the first time. It was not years and years. It was like I started at the end of 2015, and September of 2016, I got arrested for felony charges and then went to prison. So it wasn't even a year of doing meth, but so much happened in that, 10 months or 9 months, whatever it was, that it felt like it was years of addiction.
What are you guys doing with the little boy while you're on this stuff?
He's just hanging out watching TV downstairs.
Really?
Yeah. And we always made sure that the food in the fridge was full and food was cooked or whatever. And his grandma lived in town at the time, my wife's mom. So he would go over there and spend time with her. And eventually I took him over to her place, and she just started raising him.
Wow.
Yep. And that was a hard day, but it needed to be done because we were ruining his life just like his mom and his dad did. And yeah, that wasn't the kind of person I wanted to be. But it wasn't enough to get me to not be selfish. Because everything was poor me, you know. This happened, and then my wife cheated on me at one point, and then I was like, well, might as well get high because of it, you know. But once I started selling drugs, and then I met a lot more people, and then it's just it's never-ending cycle of you have to run around, and when you have drugs, then you have to get rid of them, and then you have to, you know, trust who you're selling them to, so you're not selling them some undercover or CI or anything like that. So yeah, I found out that you can make a lot of money if you went to the reservation to sell drugs. And then met some people down there, and first time I took drugs down there, I took an 8-ball, 3.5 grams, and I made almost $1,000 on it because everything was short. And it was like just over $900, maybe $1,000. But the next time I went down there, I took it and I actually weighed everything out and made like $500. But from that point on, every time I would call, you know, my homegirl down there and say, I'm coming down with this, this, and this, she would have it gone by the time I got there because I wasn't trying to rip them off. So it was easy. Go down there with stuff and come back an hour later and it's all gone. Cash in your pocket.
Was there anybody in your life that you looked up to and you respected and you thought, this dude's got it going on, I trust this person, I really respect his opinion? Did you have anybody like that in your life?
Do you mean somebody sober or somebody in the...
Sober, yeah.
No.
Wow.
I mean, there was one of my guard buddies. He was sober, and he helped me out a few times. But you know, he would just every time I'd meet him, he'd be like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I don't know what I'm doing." And he's like, "Well, we gotta figure it out because I care about you and I don't want to see you do this." And it was never enough. You know, I didn't want to get sober. And honestly, the adrenaline when you're doing drugs and breaking the law and, you know, selling drugs, and it's all a rush. It could almost get you higher than the drugs do, just that adrenaline. And there were, I don't know, it's hard to explain because there were so many things in that short time frame. Like, I started smoking and then I started selling drugs, and then it wasn't even a month later before someone shot me up for the first time.
With meth?
With meth and heroin. A mixture. And that got me higher than I'd ever realized you could get that high. And that started it. So then I learned how to hit myself. And when I used to shoot up, I'd shoot up underneath my arm, in a vein, so nobody could see if I left a track mark or needle mark. And for months, nobody knew what I was doing. But then I got to a point where I could hit other people, and I was good at it. So then there were so many lives I've ruined because a needle is a hard thing to get off of. It's very hard. And as soon as you poke your vein and it barely gets in your bloodstream, you feel it. And then you're off to the races. But I've injected, so many people for the first time, and I don't know, it probably ruined their life.
Are they coming to you and paying you to do this?
No.
How does that work?
Well, I had drugs for sale,
So you would just...
And most of the time it would be girls that wanted to get high and they wanted to try it. So then, yeah, give them a little bit of dope and a needle, and then whatever happens afterwards, is just like a bonus. So there were, but so many of them that never messed with a needle before, never ever thought about being a junkie, and they wanted to do it for the first time, and I was good at it. So most people, when they do it, they say they can do it, and then they'll end up missing a shot in your arm, and some people can get an abscess, and like it could just go all sorts of bad. You could get any kind of disease, and it's just not, it's not a good thing. But I would poke them whenever they asked.
Did you ever have an experience where you missed a vein?
Oh, yeah.
On yourself or someone else?
Both. Yeah. Both.
So then do you go to the hospital for this?
No, I never did.
You just kind of
dealt with it.
God damn.
It never turned into an abscess or anything, but you can feel it, like it goes. You can definitely tell when it's not in your vein, because you push half a shot's worth of dope in your arm and you don't feel anything yet, you're missing. And then you have a lump where it's just sitting underneath your skin, and yeah.
So at that point, do you pull it out and try to get the vein then, or do you just give up for right now?
No, try to get the vein.
God, Jesus.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, there's a lot of stories I could tell like that, but after I started selling drugs on the reservation, then it was easier, because I just had to drive not far and I could make money and then come back, and I didn't really have to worry about selling drugs around here. I could just do them. But it came to a point where we sold our house in Mandan, and well, it was either going to get foreclosed on or we had to sell it. So we sold it, moved all our stuff out into a storage unit, and then we just hotel hopped for a while. And that was, life as a drug addict sucks, because you never know when your next meal is going to come. You're not really worried about eating. You're not worried about paying bills or, anything like that, car insurance.
Wow.
None of it. And there were times I spent homeless, living in my pickup, and my wife and I separated. So she was off living at some drug dealer's house in Mandan, and I was living in my pickup, and never once at any of these points did I ever think about going to treatment. And I got myself in some hairy situations that, yeah.
Did you still feel like you were in control of
Always.
your life at this? You felt like you were doing things.
Yeah. And I never, like, when I put the gun to my head and, you know, I was so ready to be done after that misfired. Like, I didn't want to touch drugs and anything. I never had another thought like that about putting the gun to my head. 'Cause in my head, I was on top of the world, you know, but I wasn't worried about my family or my friends. And like my buddy Justin, once I started the meth, I pretty much severed all contact with him because I never wanted to be around him or his kids or his wife and bring that kind of chaos into their life. So I just stopped talking to him.
Wow.
And he never gave up on me. He understood why. After I got sober, you know, I told him, he's like, why didn't you ever come around? I said, because I didn't want to bring it around to your kids. Were you ruin your life like mine was? But when I ended up going to prison, I mean, this is just the kind of friend he is. He was my very first visit.
Wow.
Had no idea he was coming. Other than they called me up and said, hey, you have a visit. I showed up, and there he was sitting there. I think I was in orientation at the time. So or maybe I was there for like a month. And he was my first visit.
You were in prison for a month?
No, I was in prison for the month, or for a month when he came and visited. But yeah, I talked to him in a year and a half because of all the drugs, and he showed up for me.
How did he find out you were in there?
Because I was on the news.
Oh boy.
Yeah, there were. Before I got arrested, I told you there were a lot of stories that I could tell. And I feel like I should tell some of them because it goes with the addiction and all the things that go around with addiction. But I don't know where to start. So I'll just go off the beginning. So I'm a junkie at this point in my life. I'm shooting up heroin and meth, and if I can't get those, then I'm crushing up like Dilaudid or getting morphine, all of the things. I never got into fentanyl, but I would shoot all those up, and my friends, well, not really friends, but people I hung out with would shoot up. And one of the times, or my wife and I are separated at this point, and this girl reaches out and says she wants some drugs, and I don't know where to get this amount. She wanted $3,000 worth. Like, okay. So I reached out to my wife, and she's like, yeah, let me make a phone call and then come and pick me up. So I went and picked her up, and we drive to Bismarck, and we meet this dude, and he's like, hop in with me and we'll go get it, and then we'll meet you with the money. So she hops in with him, and I start heading down to pick up these girls who have the money, and they call me and they say, we have $300, not $3,000. Like, oh my, oh no. Because that's not something that's cool in the drug world. Like, if you say you have that much money, then people are going to expect that much money.
Oh, yeah.
And if you have 10% of that, or whatever, that's not going to fly. So I called my wife and I told her, and the guy that she was going with to get the drugs from got on the phone and started chewing me out, cussing me out and saying all these things, and the phone went click. And I have no idea where they're at, no idea where they're going. So I go down and get these girls with the $300, and half the day passes and I don't hear anything. And a couple hours later, I get a phone call from a number that I don't know. And it's my wife, and she's crying and she's hysterical, and I drive over to Mandan and I pick her up, and like her clothes are ripped, her hair's messy, her makeup's all over her face, and yeah, because of that $3,000 that turned up to be $300, these two guys took her to a garage in Mandan and raped her. Because of a drug deal that I set up. Yeah, that was a hard one.
That is,
but that's the way the game works.
That's one of the fastest ways to make me so unbelievably angry, is to hear stories like that about women.
Yeah.
And I won't talk too much about it, but I do know people, women who have gone through it. And it, when I hear stories like that, I am willing to throw away. If it ever happens, I've heard stories like this in passing. The women will come to me years later and say, "Oh yeah, I was raped." And if it ever happened and it was current and it was there, I am 100% willing to throw away my entire life to kill someone over that. Yeah. What's going on in your head at this point?
He was the main guy that she had called for the drugs. Everybody around town always said he was an informant, so he was like untouchable, because he would go to jail and he would be out the next day. And it wasn't the first time he ever did that, and he liked to get girls high on heroin and then take advantage of them, and because they would nod out, not remember anything. And yeah. And I felt horrible after that, because that was, I blame those girls a lot, because they're the ones that said that they had so much money and turned out to not have anywhere near that. And because of that, they took it out on her.
What's your next move after this?
There wasn't...
what can you do?
Not much.
Did you ever see those?
I could have gone about it, 100 different ways, but I didn't. Everybody that I knew knew him and they knew what he was like and knew what he was capable of. And I mean, there's, days where I thought about just taking his life and not thinking about it. But then I wouldn't be doing any good for my family. Not that I was doing good for my family, but I would be in prison and yeah.
What's your relationship like with her after this?
It's definitely on the rocks. And that happened a month, a couple months before I ended up getting arrested. But it was a month before the last time I'd ever see her again. Yeah. So that happened, and our relationship is definitely rocky. It's not lovey-dovey. It's drugs, more drugs. And she, her sister and her sister's boyfriend came up from Vegas, and they're trying to get us to come back to Vegas with them and work and join a construction crew. And life here isn't doing it for us anymore. I mean, we're not working. I have a warrant for burglary, and we just got to get out of here. So we thought going to Vegas was the best idea. So we left town and made it to Casper, Wyoming. And unbeknownst to me, my sister, who was a Grant County Sheriff's deputy, she called Wyoming Highway Patrol, Casper County Sheriff's Office, Casper PD, and she told them that I was a burglar and that I was manufacturing, transporting, and delivering meth across the U.S. Gave them a description of my car, who I was with, gave them my description, and yeah, car broke down in Wyoming. Of course. Oil sensor went out. So we were at Walmart, and these cops showed up and put us up in a hotel room for the night and take our car to the shop. Well, because of my sister's report, they impounded my car and still paid for us to go to a hotel. And the next day, I was going to walk to the mechanic's office and talk to him. Made it there, and there was no car there. On the way back, I get stopped by a cop, and I have a backpack on, and he searches it, and he finds a needle cap. So I go to jail for a paraphernalia charge. Drug paraphernalia. And in the meantime, my sister-in-law and everyone is waiting on a ride to Vegas. She's like 2 hours from getting to Wyoming to pick them up, and that was the last time I saw them. I went to jail, spent 30 days in jail there, and they were in Las Vegas.
So the cops that found you guys at Walmart, they were aware.
They already knew who I was.
Why in the hell did they take you to a hotel after that?
To help us out, because I don't know. Maybe they were hoping that nothing would happen because of it. Because there was no proof that I was manufacturing.
Oh, okay, so you didn't have any. This was just she told them you were this crazy person.
And because she was a sheriff's deputy.
Okay. But they couldn't prove any of that when they found you.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I was trying to figure that. I thought maybe you had a bunch of drugs on you or something. I couldn't figure out what the hell. So a needle cap.
Yep.
That's why you went to jail? Like
Yeah, in
the
Wyoming.
protective.
Yep. The little orange cap that's on top of the plunger.
How is that possible?
So it's part of a needle. It's
Couldn't have been an
paraphernalia.
insulin needle or nothing.
Well, what does somebody who doesn't have diabetes have an insulin needle for?
But it's illegal to have a needle cap now?
When you're a drug addict, yeah.
Did they
you're not
test
supposed
you
to have them
for
at
drugs? Did they test you for drugs? How
all.
do
No,
they
but
know
you could clearly tell that I was a drug addict.
But that's a jailable offense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Jesus
in Wyoming.
Christ.
Yeah, so I spent 30 days there and ended up making a phone call one day and called one of the girls in Dickinson, and I was like, I'm still in jail down here. Can you come and help me? She's like, I just got my tax return. I'll be there to get you on Saturday. So she came down and got me.
From Wyoming.
Yep.
Takes you where?
Well, after Wyoming, it took me to, we went to Denver. She brought a buddy with, and he wanted to see his girlfriend. So I'm fresh out of jail, looking to get high.
The girl that picked you up, she was a drug addict too? Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And because I called my sister, I called my brother. My brother was in Texas at the time, so he was never going to bail me out. My sister in town, she was never going to bail me out. She's like, you need to think about your life and get your life in order. And I didn't want to sit there because this happened in July, and my court date for that needle cap wasn't until like November. And I did not want to sit that long in Wyoming. So, yeah, I called her up and she bailed me out.
What was the bail?
$1,000.
Huh.
But with a bail bondsman, it was like $150.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. You didn't have it.
No, definitely did not.
That's wild.
We were headed to Vegas on hopes and prayers. But we went to Denver because the guy who rode with her, he wanted to see his girlfriend. And first night we're there, I asked to borrow her car. And she's like, yeah, you can go to the gas station. Just don't go anywhere near Colfax. I was like, okay. Yeah, because Colfax is like where all the hardcore people hang out. So being arrogant and cocky and stupid, I drove right past the gas station, found Colfax, and turned.
What were you thinking?
Looking for
about?
drugs.
Okay.
And I didn't have much. I think I had $25 on me and like one of them big bougie Walmart watches, for like $10. Just stupid. And I drive down Colfax and stop this one homie that I see walking down the street. And he's like, are you a cop? I said, no, I just got out of jail in Wyoming. Here's my paperwork. Here's my license. He's like, you sure you're not a cop? You look like a cop. And I had a mohawk. Like, my head was shaved, and I had a long mohawk. My hair was down to here.
No kidding.
Stupid. Stupid.
I'd love to see that picture.
And it's like, I'm not a cop, I promise. So he got in. And he's like, do you care if I smoke crack in here? I was like, sure, go for it. I've never done crack. And we started driving the way he tells me, and he's over there hitting his crack pipe, and he's like, see, I'm a good crackhead. You couldn't tell I was smoking it. And I was like, sure. I just want to know where to get some crystal. And we go to right by 7-Eleven, and I pull over, and he's like, you got to slide your seat forward. And I said, okay. And this dude who's about to enter the car makes me look tiny. He is one of the biggest black dudes I've ever seen in my life. He's like 6'9", 350 pounds. And my knees are to the dash, and he's pushing on my backrest with his knees. I was like, I'm going to die. I can't move. The steering wheel's in between my legs. I'm like, crap. This isn't good. So he's like, man, he's got this deep voice. He's like, what do you want? Or what do you got? So I gave him my $20, $25 and my watch. And he's like, okay, here you go. And threw me a bag of dope and got out. And I was like, geez, that's it?
Wow.
Oh, yeah. And he gave me a boatload.
No shit.
Yeah, it's cheaper down there. And it's way better. So for that $25 and that cheap watch, back home, it would have been like $300 he gave me. Like, cool, dude. So then I dropped the homie back off and went to the hotel room. Got locked out of the hotel room, so I went outside and I climbed up the balconies up to our floor, and outside our window we had the roof of the building. So I just sat on the roof of the building and got high and watched the sun come up over Denver.
So you had been in jail in Wyoming before this.
Yep.
And so you had kind of been sober for a little bit.
I was sober that whole time in jail.
And had you you'd gotten over, is there like what do you call it? Like a relapse phase when you're clean for a little bit of time? At that point, you hadn't cleaned up enough to where you come to your senses and you're like, I think I'm all right. The first thought out of your head was, I need to go back and get high again.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that was it. There was no second guessing it. Like, I was already in Wyoming, and now I have a criminal record pending. So why not?
Yeah. Nothing else to lose, huh?
Yeah. So we spend a couple days in Wyoming, and the guy and the girl I'm with, they're like, where did you get all this dope? And I told them, and they're like, don't you do that again.
Did they use it with you?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And then the day before we left, I called up the homie again because I got his phone number, and it went to voicemail. And his voicemail was so professional. It was like, hello, this is Steve with so-and-so insurance. I was like, that's not Steve. But he got a hold of me, and I went and picked him up to go get some more. And he's like, can we stop by where this incident happened? And I was like, sure. So we pull in this alleyway, and there's police tape all over, and we get out and go underneath the tape, and he's like, there was a little girl who was shot here because a drug deal gone bad, and like there were blood stains still on the concrete, and it sucked, but he wanted to go and pay his respects because he knew her, and she was like 10 or 12. I was like, that hit me. Never would have thought I'd be in Denver, saying respect over a murder scene like that or whatever,
Wow.
Well, then we left and got more drugs and headed back to North Dakota.
How are you getting more drugs? How are you getting money for drugs at this
point?
point?
The girl that I got some extra cash from the girl that came and picked me up.
No.
Because we needed drugs to get back to North Dakota, so.
Jesus, dude.
Yeah. And then we got back, and, it was, that would have been like the beginning of August. And I made a lot of enemies throughout my time using and selling drugs and ripping people off. Because if you don't have the money, then you rip off drug dealers so you can get high. And then eventually you find the money to pay them back, or they come and try to collect it from you. But like there was this one time I took $100 worth of dope off this girl, and her boyfriend and this guy came and found the apartment where we were at, or the house, and we were in the basement in like the living room area. And I turned around because I heard somebody come in, and her boyfriend has one of these taser flashlight things, and he hit me right above the knee with it. I was like, I just wanted to deck him. Well, I never fell down. I didn't move. I didn't do anything. And then his buddy that was there had a fillet knife, and he had it against my face, and he was talking about peeling my face off for that $100. And I was like, do what you got to do.
Damn. Golly. Did you ever have weapons on you while you're doing all this drug stuff?
Sometimes. Not at that point. Never thought I needed one in the basement of that house.
Wow.
And, I was never like threatening to people. I never had to, unless I got paid to go and collect something for someone, there was no need for me to be violent or worry about anything. But yeah, that fillet knife and pushed against my cheek, and whatever you got to do, buddy.
They just leave after that, or they try to get...
Yeah, they just jaw jacked a lot. And
damn.
Yeah.
This sounds like one of the most insane...
It is insane. It's like I can't believe any of this is my life.
It doesn't sound real.
It doesn't.
It's like a dream or something, like a nightmare you have.
North Dakota buyers and sellers, if you are tired of agents that lie to you, of agents that don't understand how to market your home, and they don't know how to write an offer that is winning, my name is Silas Jackson with Capital Real Estate Partners, and our brokerage, and myself especially, represent the exact opposite of those characteristics. So, for that reason, I'm happy to work with anyone that doesn't like those things. If you do enjoy those things, feel free to indulge in working with those agents. No shame. But if you're looking for something different, if you're looking for an agent that you can trust, then I am here with you and for you at Capital Real Estate Partners.
So after we got back from Wyoming, my other really good buddy, actually my sponsee, Jesse, he was in jail, and he got out of jail, and the girl that came to pick me up out of Wyoming, they were really good friends. So we went to jail to pick him up, and we all hung out, and we were hanging out at this trailer house in Mandan, and unbeknownst to Jesse and this girl, these kids went and ripped off a drug dealer and stole $9,000 from him because he had it in his sock. And everybody that knew me knew eventually I was going to try to go to Vegas and find my wife. At least that was my plan. And the wrong person found out about that and told that drug dealer that I took the money so I could go to Vegas. And he showed up at the trailer house we were at. I just walked out of the bedroom, started walking down the hallway. He opened the door, looked in, said, "I want my money back." Shot right between my legs into the floorboard, and then walked out.
Did you give it to him?
I never had it.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God.
I never had it. So And my buddy Jesse, he was sleeping with the girl who owned the trailer house. And the girl who picked me up from Wyoming, she thought it was me in there and got super jealous. And Jesse came clean to her and told her that it was him. And then he came clean to the drug dealer because he knew him and said who it was. So he squashed that beef for me, and never ended up getting shot.
None of this wakes you up. None of this, what you're going through.
Because it's, at that point, it's part of life.
Right.
It's just another day.
You're having no thoughts about, man, I need to quit. Is that ever going through your head?
There are thoughts, but it's not just the drugs that are addicting. It's the lifestyle and the adrenaline. I'd be lying if I said when I got shot at, there was an adrenaline flowing through me, or with that knife against my face.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think back to how things could have been different, but all of that ends with people getting hurt and me going to prison probably, or me getting hurt. And so I just dealt with it. So after I got shot at in Mandan, Kelly, the lady who owned the trailer house, her boyfriend escapes from jail in Washburn. He found a way to get in the attic and went through the roof and hopped a fence, and he stole a car, and he gets out, shows up in Mandan, and we're like, you gotta leave. You're gonna get everybody arrested. And he left for a couple hours and came back, and then he hung out for a couple days. And we leave because we know the cops are going to be coming for him, and I still have a warrant. And we left. And as soon as we pulled out of the driveway in Twin Cities, Mandan, in come the cop cars. So then we turn around and we're watching, and the whole place is surrounded. And they've got like the Bearcat set up, and they've got SWAT there and a helicopter overhead. And they're like, Billy, we know you're in there. He barricaded himself in, and with her. And then eventually he let her go. And they shot like smoke grenades and tear gas and everything into the trailer house. And he cut a hole through the floor, went underneath the trailer house, pushed out the skirting, and then made it like 100 feet and climbed a tree. He was not smart. And he's this tiny little guy. And they ended up catching him up in the tree, but yeah, like 10 minutes later, and that could have been all of us.
My God.
Yeah. Yeah, that was nuts. Like, they had that whole trailer park shut down and cops everywhere. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
And they're just looking for him.
And they're just looking for him because he escaped.
Yeah. Lucky for you guys, huh?
Yep. Then that was in the middle of September. The end of September, I still in the back of my mind, I think I'm going to go to Vegas. And I end up stealing a car in Bismarck, and I go to Dickinson and stop at a buddy's house, get high, switch out the license plates, and this girl that was there, she took my cell phone. I don't know why, but we called her the next morning, and she's like, I'm at Walmart. Come meet me, and you can have it. So me and my buddy and his girlfriend, we left and heading to Walmart, and I get pulled over in a stolen car. And yeah, he's like, turn yourself in. Because I have a warrant in Mandan for that burglary still that I've had all year. And I'm like, no, I'm running. So I put the car in park and took off running. And I ended up leading Dickinson PD on a 5.5 hour foot chase through town. And by the time they, I would hide for a little bit, and then I'd run and hide and run. And I thought I was working my way to my buddy's mom's house. And I got there, opened the door, went inside, and I shut the door. And she's standing up at the top of the stairs. She's like, who are you? And I said, you're not Dave's mom. And I opened the door back up, and there's a cop there with his gun drawn. And he's like, freeze. I said, no. And I shut the door and I locked it. Went downstairs, pushed out her screen window in her laundry room, climbed out, hopped the fence, and there's another cop back there who's chasing me, and he's like, you need to stop or I'll shoot. And I said, you better not miss. And I kept on running. I was high. I was full of adrenaline. I was like, this is it. And then I made it a couple more blocks, and a canine cop drove past me and slammed on its brakes, and I hit the street, and I just collapsed. I was done. Done running, done. It was like a moment of surrender. And then I got bombarded by all the cops, and in my mugshot, I've got a mark on my eye where I got my face smushed into the ground. And well, yeah, I got arrested, and I got 4 felonies that day and a couple misdemeanors. Yeah. So then I go to jail, and I'm not in jail for 10 minutes, and then the task force guys are coming to ask me questions about who's doing drugs and who's selling drugs, and do I know this person? Do I know that person? I'm like, no, I'm from Bismarck and Mandan. I don't know Dickinson. But when I got arrested, they had Starr County Sheriff, Dickinson PD, Morton County PD, or Morton County Sheriff's, Highway Patrol, BCI, had a helicopter after me. There was like 7 or 8 agencies that were looking for me.
This was a 5-hour chase.
Yeah.
Was this during the day?
Yeah.
Not a lot of places to hide at.
And I didn't know Dickinson at the time. I was just shooting in the dark of where I was going. I had no idea. Yeah, it was. But when I surrendered there, and when I got taken into jail and dressed out in all the orange and everything, and I sat on a bunk, and I was just like, it's over. It's done.
Damn.
Yeah. It was just time to deal with all the problems that I caused. And there was a time before I left to go to Las Vegas that my sister-in-law, she was like, you need treatment. You need help. She's like, I'm going to do what I can for you. And she ended up calling me back, and she's like, Monday morning, 6 a.m. or 7 a.m., she's like, you go to this place and they'll have a bed for you and you're going to start treatment. I said, okay, thank you. And that was the same day that we left for Las Vegas.
And that's when she called on you?
No, that was my sister-in-law who got me into treatment, but I
Oh.
never went. But it was my sister who called everything else in on me.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, she was the first person that was like, you need treatment and we're going to help you get it. But she's like, you got to ditch your wife. And I wasn't ready to do that yet. So we went to Vegas instead of going to treatment. And that was hard for her. She's like, you know how hard it was for me to try to help you at that time. And you just refused. I'm like, yeah, I was dumb. I was an idiot.
So we're almost 3 hours in.
Dude, I know. And we're not even to prison yet.
I know. I know. Is that going to be a part 3?
It's going to be part 3 and part 4, bro.
It sounds like we're going to have to do part 3 and 4.
Yeah. Yeah, we can shut her down whenever you want.
Yeah. One question I do want to ask, though, before we do that. So going through all that shit, everything you were going through, and now you on the other side of it. If you were to encounter an individual who's currently dealing with this, someone who's high on life, in control, selling and dealing and doing, do you think you could help that person out of that situation, or do they need to have the coming to Jesus moment like you did when you just collapsed and you're ready to just give up? Do you think you'd have the words?
I would like to think that I would be able to help them, but for me, there was nothing anybody was going to say that. I mean, I had a bed in treatment already lined up, and that wasn't enough to get me to stop. I had to be at that point where I knew that I was done. And just like my last relapse in 2022, I got to a point where I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Didn't matter what happened or, what job I lost, anything. I had to get to that point where it's like something's got to change.
That's hard, man.
Yeah. Because there's people out there that are using that, you care about and you want to see be better and do better and, be better parents or a better dad or a better mom. And they just, no amount of words are going to change how they feel on the inside.
So the drug problem that we have in this country is still huge.
Mm-hmm.
Would you say the majority of these people just kind of need to go through it the same way you did? We got people, we have church groups, we have soup kitchens, we've got this, we've got that, we've got charities. From the sounds of it, when you're in it like that, none of that matters.
No, I never went to anything. I never went to a soup kitchen. I never used any of those. But I think, to an extent that like homeless shelters and soup kitchens, they help. I don't know if they help, but they kind of cater to an addict, because you could go there and you could get, a meal, or you could go and spend the night somewhere warm and get kicked out the next day. And I don't know if like homeless shelters, I don't think they can drug test. They can probably ask if you're clean, but I don't know. I don't have any experience with that. But I think for the most part, people have to just come to that point where they're over it. They're tired and they get to envision a life that's not what it's like now. Because even when I was using, there were days where I was like, this is not the life I want to live. you know? And then there were days where I was high and made money selling drugs, and I'm like, this is the life. You know, I don't have anybody watching out for me. I don't have to answer to anybody. I just do what I want. But it all got to that end point where I was done.
You think it's possible to win the war on drugs in America, or is that a futile endeavor?
I would like to say that it would be possible, but there's too much going on right now for it to be possible. There's, you know, addiction's not only, or the war on drugs is not only like painkillers and meth and heroin. It's, you know, like depression medication, like Xanax and Valium, and all of that stuff is addictive. And you know, I don't know what it's like anymore, but people used to talk about, you know, stay-at-home moms that would pop Xanny bars and just chill and whatever. I don't know if it's like that anymore, but it's not, just because it's not a hard drug like that doesn't mean people aren't addicted to it.
Right.
You know.
Wow, man. I can't wait for part 3.
I can't believe you're going to have to do a lot of editing on this.
Yeah. I'll do what I got to do. It definitely, the time flies in here.
It did.
Oh,
and there
man.
was still a lot of stories that I left out, and so many stories I left out. But I don't want this just to be like a storytelling thing. I want to get, you know, parts of it out, and yeah, I mean, we could do this for the next year, and I could tell you stories.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And this is just up until I went to prison.
Right.
So then we have my relapse after prison, and yeah.
Oh, man.
And then we have another jail stint after prison, and birth of my kid, and sober, or clean but not sober, where I was drinking in the oil field, and then a relapse in the oil field. And
You still haven't even gotten divorced from your first wife yet, have you?
no, that's coming up.
I hope people are listening and taking notes from your story. I wish there was a way I could funnel these podcasts directly to people dealing with this specific problem. You know, but imagine you as a junkie sitting down and listening to a 2-hour podcast.
That would have never happened.
Right. So it's like, how do you reach these people? You know, I don't know. The best thing you can hope for is that you reach the people who can reach them, the ones who are in their right minds and living a decent life. They'll listen and they'll say, you know, maybe this is something that could help this individual. From the sounds of it, nothing. What can help the person? You know, they got to go through it almost, is what it sounds like.
They do. And I don't think a lot of them know what's on the other side. Like, as far as addiction and how you can live after that. You know, because I had no idea when I was active in my addiction, like, what is life like? Because I still drank. I still, you know, did stuff when I was sober or clean, but not sober. And that still sucked. Still hated life. But now that I live, you know, way differently, I have Christ and a foundation and family and a support system, that this is the life where it's at, you know. This is everything I hoped and prayed for, and I didn't know it could be like this after addiction.
Do you know anyone currently that's dealing with the stuff that you went through?
No, I know people in and out of the rooms, and stuff, but everybody, I don't know anybody in active addiction. Everybody that, I mean, I don't have Facebook or anything. I don't talk to people that I used to use with. But yeah, and if I do, they're clean and sober, and
That's good.
yeah.
Wow. There is more to the story.
There's always more to the story.
I love it. I love it. It's valuable for me to hear this side of your life as well too, because I haven't gone through it. It's always interesting to get inside. I'm a huge fan of watching documentaries about, I'll sit at work and listen to episodes of, they're talking about serial killers and inside the minds of some of these people or addicts, people that have gone to prison, and you hear a lot of the same theme of what you're talking about. It's just they were in it at the moment. They thought they were in control, and they didn't realize, maybe not so much with the serial killers, but addicts or people that have gone to jail for smaller things or just screwing up their lives constantly. They just never could see the other side of it. They never could quite get there. And a lot of them, it just took jail or prison.
Yep.
It's sad, but it's a reality of the world that we live in.
But a lot of that's mindset too. Like when I got out of prison, I knew I was going to get high again.
Damn.
I knew it. It was just one of those things. And I was like, it will happen again. But like after my last relapse, and when I decided I was done, and I was like, I'm not going to get high again. I'm done. I'm not going to drink. Not going to touch a drug.
All right.
Yeah.
So, for the next part of this series, what are we going to be getting into?
Jail. We'll talk about jail in Dickinson. That warrant I had. Prison. Getting out of prison. Halfway house. Relapse. And a girl getting pregnant with my son. And then the oil field. We talk about all of it.
All right.
Probably up until my last relapse. Last relapse could be part 4.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Hope you guys are watching, paying attention. Stay tuned for the next one.
Leave us a comment.
Leave us some comments. Share the video. I'm going to be promoting it as best as I can, and so will DJ. I can't wait for part 2. Let us know if you know someone who has been through anything, I can't imagine, but anything similar to what DJ is. Please recommend them to come on the show and tell their story as well. You can reach out to us at thebtgteam@gmail.com, or you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We've got everything. And I can't wait to get back in here and have another conversation with DJ again about some more of his life.
We will.